What's up, everybody? My name is Rashid. Now I'm going to do this brief video because I want to talk about a topic that everybody should know about by now. It's a topic that's affecting a lot of people across America, and that's gentrification. Now, I'm going to use this video to teach you the truth about gentrification. I'm going to teach you the truth that those who support gentrification and those who defend gentrification do not teach you. Okay? I'm going to teach you, all the bullshit about, gentrification. First of all, gentrification, like I said, is all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Because gentrification does not help or benefit poor blacks or poor Latinos or any other poor ethnic group. Okay, it does not benefit the communities of poor blacks, poor Latinos, or any other poor ethnic group. Okay, it does not help low-income neighborhoods. Gentrification helps the majority of white upper class and white middle class, and maybe a small minority of blacks and Latinos and other ethnic groups who've made it into middle class, but they're just a minority. The majority that gentrification benefits are those who are white middle class and white upper class. Okay, those blacks and Latinos who made it into middle class, that's a small minority. Okay, now you have those who try to defend gentrification by saying that the reason why low-income neighborhoods are being gentrified is because of the high crime rate, because of the gangs, the street gangs, the murder rate, the burglaries, the robberies, the laziness. All of that is complete bullshit. And what they don't do is they don't teach you how these neighborhoods became low income. They don't teach you where all those social problems come from. People in these low income neighborhoods, they're not savages. You know what I'm saying? People are not born to act out like this. But you live in a society that created poor social economic conditions decades ago, which created this damn culture that you see out here now. Now, let's look at the history of inner city communities across America. Let's look at Brooklyn, the Bronx, Chicago, LA, Detroit, St. Louis. Let's look at all the major cities, right? Boston, let's look at all the major cities. And let's look at before blacks or Latinos moved into those inner cities, you had poor Irish, Italians, and Jews who were in those inner cities. Okay? Throughout the 1800s, okay, and throughout the early 1900s and mid 1900s, you had the Irish who had more gangs in New York than anybody in the history of New York. Okay? The Plug Uglies, the Dead Rabbits, the Wyos, the 40 Thieves, okay, the Daybreak Boys, okay, the Westies, okay. The Irish had so many gangs out here in New York where they was killing and shooting and robbing and murdering each other. Okay, there's a movie called The Gangs of New York. Check that movie out. But then study the documentary of the real gangs of New York. Then comes in the Italians. Same order of business. Where I'm at, in Brooklyn, throughout Brooklyn, the South Brooklyn Boys. The South Brooklyn Devils, the South Brooklyn Angels. Okay, the Ocean Hill Hooligans. Okay, the Avenue U Boys, the Avenue K Boys. You understand what I'm trying to say? Then you had the Jews, the same order of business when they came here. Okay, the Monk Eastman gang in the Lower East Side fighting against an Italian gang called the 5 Point Star gang. Okay, out here in Brooklyn, Brownsville, you had the Boys of Brownsville, which was a Jewish gang. Okay, you had the Murder Inc., which was Murder Incorporated, which was a Jewish gang. A lot of people think Murder Inc. was a record label, but that was a real Jewish gang. You understand? So, before blacks and Latinos moved into the inner cities, you always had poor Irish, Italians, and Jews here who were just killing, robbing, and murdering each other for decades before we even got here. Okay? And the question is, why were they doing that? Because they too was discriminated against. Their communities as a community was discriminated against. Okay? White Anglo-Saxons, okay, who ran this country did not see them as being white. They saw them as being a bunch of European immigrants, peasants, right? So they left their communities in chaos, okay? But now, when blacks and Latinos started to move into the inner cities, okay, you have those whites that were there in the inner cities. They had the opportunity to move to the suburbs, okay. FHA, which was a Federal Housing Administration, which was started by FDR, Franklin D. Roosevelt, who started that agency during the New Deal era. The New Deal era is the era that took a lot of poor white people out of the ghettos and poverty and pushed them into middle class status, okay? So during the New Deal era, okay, you had a lot of poor Irish, Italians, and Jews and poor Anglo-Saxons who were pushed to the suburbs. They were taken out of the projects, okay, because the projects was built originally for poor and working class whites. It wasn't originally for blacks and Latinos. It was mainly for poor working class whites who the project was built for. But when blacks and Latinos started to move into those neighborhoods, those inner city neighborhoods, like throughout Brooklyn, Detroit, Chicago, those whites, and also in LA, those whites moved to the suburbs. The government, FHA, okay, gave money to land developers, okay, throughout the 40s and 50s and 60s to build houses in the suburbs, okay, here in New York, in Long Island, in Staten Island, okay, and also in southern New Jersey, okay, and gave them affordable loans where they could purchase the houses and pay back in 30 years. What that did was take the whites out of the inner cities, communities, out of the ghettos, and it allowed them to create wealth for themselves, okay. Their schools were better invested into. They was building the FHA and all the other agencies during the New Deal era. Okay, when Franklin D. Roosevelt became president after the Great Depression. Okay, all those agencies started to allow white communities to build wealth for themselves. Okay, roads were built for them, parks renovated, schools renovated. Okay, a lot of factory jobs were also created within their community. And this is one of the reasons why so many blacks and Latinos started to move into the northern cities. Okay, blacks and Latinos, like you had African Americans who was leaving the South, you had West Indians who was leaving the Caribbean, you had Puerto Ricans leaving Puerto Rico, moving into the northern cities looking for those factory jobs that was created by the World War II, and that was created by the automobile industry. But then when blacks and Latinos got into the inner city communities, and as whites are leaving out, it's called white flight. Those jobs that were there left with the white folks to the suburbs, creating high unemployment now amongst the inner city blacks and Latino population who continued to move into the inner cities. They couldn't go out to the suburbs with the whites. Even if they could afford to, they couldn't move out there. They had to stay in the damn ghettos with no jobs now. All the factory jobs that were here went to the suburbs with the white folks. So the inner cities started out with white people, poor, committing so much crime. But then when blacks and Latinos started moving in there, they was pushed out to the suburbs in nice houses, okay, that were cheap, maybe $7,000 for the whole house. Okay, they can go to the banks and get these easy mortgage loans, pay back in 30 years for a $7,000 house. And what that did was create generational wealth for whites. As blacks and Latinos moved into the inner cities, our communities begin to become what they call redlining. Okay, redlining is a term used to describe that if you was black and or Latino living in inner city communities, you could not get a loan from a bank to buy a house or to start a business. Their excuse was, well, that's a risky neighborhood. But it's a risky neighborhood because the damn government made it a damn risky neighborhood by keeping the people in poverty. You understand? So now you can't get the money to own a house, own a business. The jobs are all gone. Here comes the high unemployment rate. Okay? The police in the community, who were mostly Italians and Irish, okay, who you were living in the community before, but they moved to the suburbs, but kept their police jobs in the inner cities. They did nothing but criminalize the people. Okay? They didn't go after the real criminals. They just locked up everybody. They didn't give a damn. And this is another reason why gangs started. Because white gangs will come to the black and Latino community, beat blacks and Latinos up. Okay? So the blacks and Latinos had to create their own gangs to fight against those racist gangs. Okay? So that's how the gang culture started. To protect the neighborhood. Because the police wasn't doing it. So the police is a big part in creating the gang problem in the community. But because they didn't do their job, so we had to create our own gangs. You understand? So, also, there's poverty. There's no jobs. So here comes the drugs. Creating you're going to find a way to survive. So these communities were pushed into poor social economic conditions, through so many discriminatory practices, redlining, just so many, contract selling, blockbusting, to where, they were real estate agents will get a white person to sell their house for cheap and then sell it to a black person for 3 times that much, and then eventually the black person couldn't pay those loans back, so they wound up losing the house anyway. So it's just so many problems that they created here in the inner city communities that destroy these neighborhoods, man. And like I said, the whites, they were here first, but then they left and went to the suburbs on government money. FHA pushed them to the suburbs with their money, and everything was made nice for them out there. And while blacks and Latinos were being pushed, it's called racial staring, because they racially stared us away from white neighborhoods and pushed us into the inner cities, the way they begin to play their games, redlining the damn neighborhoods, Police not protecting the community. They allow the crime to run rapid. You had people who did, you had some blacks who were allowed to buy houses or businesses, but it's a problem there because the police, you did nothing for the crime rate. So those people who were able to own houses and businesses within the inner city communities, property values were kept low because the police didn't keep the crime rate down. Okay, the roads weren't prepared. Sanitation didn't come and clean up the damn streets. You understand? And that brought the property value down within the communities. Okay, now, and that's how a lot of the problems within the inner city community started. Had the people receive the same economic support that the poor whites received when they were there, the neighborhoods would have been better off. The same police protection, the neighborhoods would have been better off. Healthcare, we didn't see proper healthcare. We would have been better off. But now that white folks are moving back, now you start to see those resources being placed there. You see, the inner city communities would have never been low income had they not used discriminatory practices and policies to economically bring down those communities. But now that whites are moving back, here come the resources. Like I'm from Brooklyn. Over here, throughout Bushwick, East New York, Bed-Stuy, Crown Heights, Brownsville, throughout even in Harlem, Manhattan, in Spanish Harlem, even West Harlem. You've seen cops all over the place in the past couple of years. 2 cops literally on every damn corner, keeping crime down. Where the fuck was those cops at in the 90s and the 80s? And where the hell were them cops at then, or early 2000s? Where the hell were them cops then? So you brought the crime rate down, but not for the people who've been there for the longest. You brought it down so you could bring in white folks to come in. Okay? Because they're the majority that's moving in. Okay? So all the blacks and the Latinos who were going to school, going to work, trying to raise their children, okay, those who did own property, or those who was able to own property and houses, paying high property tax, okay, you couldn't make the neighborhood safe for them. Okay? You couldn't keep the crime rate down for them. Okay, you couldn't clean up the streets for them. Okay, you couldn't put the bike lanes and the bus lanes and the cameras all over the place. You couldn't fix the parks up for them. Okay, now, back in the days, if you rode your bike on a sidewalk, you was getting locked up for that. Now we got bike lanes. And people still riding their bikes on the sidewalks, but they're not getting arrested. Why? Because you don't want to criminalize the new residents that's moving in, who are white. You don't want to criminalize the young white people that's moving in, because they all got bikes. Okay, and that's another problem. The decriminalization of certain laws. Okay, when these inner city communities were just black and Latino, the police was here locking us up for every damn thing. Okay, you could ride your bike on the sidewalk, you could hop the turnstile, you could drink, if you were drinking alcohol in a public, urinating in public, get caught with a small bag of weed, they locked you up for it. But now it's decriminalized. None of that stuff can result in your arrest. Why? Because white people do the same damn thing, and you don't want to criminalize them with that. So we got to understand what's going on, okay? Sum it all up, okay? Study how these inner city communities became ghettos through racist practices that was done throughout the 1900s, okay? Study the crime that was going on out here with poor white people, with Irish, Italians, and Jews. Okay, and what was done to improve the quality of life in their communities, and then them being pushed out to the suburbs where everything was made safe and better for them, and then blacks and Latinos being pushed into the inner cities, okay, to where everything was just completely, we was neglected and ignored, okay, because, and people say, well, you got some blacks and Latinos who came from these neighborhoods who became doctors and lawyers, but that you're talking about individuals. We're talking about as a community. You have to create better social economic conditions in communities in order for the masses of people, of the young people that can become doctors and lawyers and and change their social economic status. You got to change the damn social economic conditions in the community first. If not, if you leave it poor, you're only going to get people that's going to get up individually, not as a community. And some of them who are trying to study hard may get shot in the head. Why? Because the cops are not there to keep the damn crime down. Oh, they there now. Lincoln Terrace Park used to be, over here in Brooklyn, used to be terrible. But now they fixed it up, and they keep cops in the park overnight to keep the park clean. In Bed-Stuy, you got dog parks. In Bed-Stuy, there's a damn dog park. Okay, so for years you allowed, people to destroy the parks. So you didn't want to keep it clean for them. You didn't want to put sanitation in there to fix it up, or keep the cops there to keep it clean, to keep it safe. You didn't want to do that for the blacks and Latinos. But as soon as the majority of white people move in, you start fixing everything the fuck up for them. And they're going to come with a bullshit story because they know people don't know history, and we don't understand how our communities became in the social economic problems that they were in. We don't know how it got to be that way. So we become ignorant and blaming ourselves, thinking it's us who did this. No, that's bullshit. Our communities were pushed into poor social economic conditions, and they knew damn well from experience that the conditions or the symptoms that you see in these communities will always have been the result. See, they teach you about the symptoms, but they're not going to teach you about the viruses that caused them goddamn symptoms. And this is what we got to understand. So what needs to be done is that these black and Latino communities, you have to unite, you have to build alliances. And we talking about other poor ethnic groups as well. Okay, because you got poor Asians out there, you know what I'm saying, and some poor whites. Okay. So it's a lot of, other ethnic groups out there, but when it comes to blacks and Latinos, you have a unique situation with gentrification because your communities were never given the chance to build economic wealth the way you could pass on to your children. We were not given that opportunity. And the reason for that, because they never wanted black or Latino communities to thrive as a community. As individuals, yeah, but not as a community, because now you be competing with their fucking kids. So, we have to build alliances. I have an organization which me and other, individuals who feel the same way as I do, blacks and Latinos, we have an organization, it's called the Black and Latino Alliance Against Damn Gentrification. So we're trying to bring black and Latino communities together, because we can't do this as individual communities. We have to bring ourselves together and create a mass movement, not just giving speeches and marching and protesting, but creating a mass movement that is going to be direct in what we want. Either this government stop this damn gentrification of black and Latino communities and other poor ethnic groups, okay, or the areas that we are moving to, you're not going to leave those as ghettos for us. You're going to give us the same resources and investments that you gave to poor whites that took them out of poor economic status and placed them in middle class status. You're going to give us them same damn resources so we can do the same damn thing as a community. Okay? And if not, it's like Malcolm X said, there's either freedom for everybody or freedom for nobody. Either we all can live in these communities or nobody should live in these communities. Okay? Either, there's affordable housing for all of us or housing for none of us. And that's where this country is pushing us towards, man. Either we all going to live in prosperity or nobody going to live in prosperity. And that's how we got to be thinking now. Because if you can't see what's going on now, then I'm sorry for you. You have to wake up. You know, it's wrong. It's criminal. It's no different from Jim Crow laws. Gentrification is no different from Jim Crow laws. Gentrification is no different from, you know, the civil rights era, you know, and what they was fighting for. You know, we got the same damn problems. So, you know, we have to do something now and not pass this on to the next generation. Our generation got to do something now. You know? So, I'm going to leave information on this video. Once I place it up on YouTube, I'm going to leave information that you can check out. Contact information, you know, those who are in the New York area, you know, and really trying to start a national movement, you know, throughout the country. You know, because we have to do something, because, you know, they pushing us down south where there is extreme poverty. You know, you know, when you study the top 10 states in America that are poor, they're all down south. You know, just look it up yourself. You know, that's West Virginia, that's Tennessee, that's Arkansas. You know, that's, you know, Georgia. You know, the top 10 are all down south. You know, so and that's where they try to push us towards. They try to push us towards down south in extreme poverty. But people are literally fighting each other for jobs down there. So we got to unite, people. We got to. You know what I'm saying? This is not a joke no more. You know what I'm saying? This is real serious, because our existence is at stake. You know what I'm saying? And there's no telling what the hell is going to happen in the next 20 years if we don't do something now. So holla at me.